Hello, dear friends. Summarizing the great abundance of news has delayed this article. Opinion piece. Who we are, where are we going, where do we come from? Incredible times await us. Changes are finally coming. The positive timeline is sealed. Disappearance of the old god. The era of manipulation is over. All would be completed between 2025 and 2030. Let's start. Several episodes in human history on Earth have been the result of a succession of colonies from other worlds that have accepted their territorial and cultural influence on the planet. The historical archives contain many answers to frequently asked questions about who we are, where we come from, and how we evolved to become the beings we are today, according to a message from Peter B. Mayer received by Matter. We are conscious beings capable of reflecting on our own existence. We have the ability to reason, feel deep emotions, create art, and search for meaning in our lives. Some argue that we are eternal souls temporarily inhabiting physical bodies, while others see us as manifestations of a universal consciousness. We exist in a vast universe, the ultimate nature of which remains a mystery. Some see our existence as part of a divine plan, others as a cosmic accident. We are on a plane of existence that we perceive through our senses, but that may be only a fraction of a larger, more complex reality. Some religions proposed that we are creations of a divine being with a specific purpose, but Eastern traditions suggest that we are part of an eternal cycle of reincarnation, while more abstract perspectives posit that we emerge from a primordial source of consciousness or energy. Official science says that Homo sapiens emerged in Africa approximately 200,000 years ago, after a long evolutionary process that goes back millions of years, and that the first hominids evolved from a common ancestor with the great apes of today between 6 and 8 million years ago. But this theory raises many doubts. Cosmic origin. The origins of life go back much further in time than is usually believed, and even go beyond the episodes of human history. The exploits begin beyond the limits of this planet, originating in stellar kingdoms, galactic federations, and civilizations of Atlantis, Lemuria, and others that are only now being discovered. Meanwhile, the long-awaited changes have finally arrived, although not as visible as anyone would like, because everything is sealed in the Earth's timeline. Many millennia, many eras, and hundreds of successive lives have passed. We are now here to take part in the great show, the transition of planet Earth from the third to the fifth dimension. In parallel to this great event, the outcome still depends on the ascension of a part of our humanity. A new era is dawning, and nothing can stop what is to come. We are on an immutable timeline in this final phase of change. The old predictions of Armageddon will not happen. Incredible times await us. However, there is still one major obstacle that undoubtedly concerns the destiny of humankind: separation. The most decisive moment for humanity has arrived. There will be two well-defined timelines. One will take part of humanity to the new Earth, and the other will take the rest into exile on another dimension planet. only a third of current humanity will be able to make this transition. It will require the necessary ascension skills to complete it, so the other part will unfortunately not make it. In the end, we will begin a new cycle and a new Earth. It will be a place where no authority will be superior to our free will decisions. Everyone will be their own judge. No one will interfere with individual preferences. Then the light will have won, everyone will create their own reality, and the fate of humankind will be decided. By separating the wheat from the chaff, only fifth-dimensional beings will enter this new world. Everything is expected to be completed, cleared, and settled between 2025 and 2030. Archons. From the beginning, the families of the Archon bloodline wanted to rule the world. In 1773, Professor Adam Weishaupt, at the request of Major Amschel Rothschild, drew up a plan for the 30 most influential families of the Archon bloodline. The ultimate goal was a world dictatorship with a leader at the top, based in Jerusalem. To this end, all influential governments and politicians were bribed to participate in this goal, without them knowing where it would lead. The real rulers are the invisible Jesuits, Luciferians, and Hatharians, who exercise their power from the shadows. The crimes of the central bankers are legendary, and too numerous to mention them all here. By providing huge loans to almost all countries and people, they have become dependent on the secret controlling power of the dark side. Governments that tried to remain independent were subdued, forcibly removed, and their leaders dethroned. If this was not possible through a political propaganda coup or economic sanctions, military force was used to achieve the goal of subjecting the country and the people to the regime of the old world order. But remember that consciousness and unity can break the power of the dark side. In fact, mandates are undermining the social consciousness of the people. Some understanding is required to identify social engineering programs and learn how to avoid becoming a victim. Consciousness and unity are the direct obstacle to these plans. They now want to take away everything of value from you and imprison the remaining population in camps. They do this in the name of saving the planet. The cabal is desperate to keep the masses under their control to prevent them from awakening. To do this, they fragment and divide the population, create fictitious groups and perceptions, so that these groups see each other as enemies and feel threatened by each other. Draconians. Unlike the reptilian race, they themselves lived on the subtle plane of the earth, or rather in a parallel world to ours. In fact, there are many such worlds on our planet, both high frequency and low frequency. High frequency ones include, for example, Agartha, whose inhabitants vibrate between the 5th and 8th dimensions. Low frequency races include the Greys, who over time began to cooperate with the Draconians. There are also civilizations among them that can be described as neutral. One of them is the representatives of the 7 planets, whose messages can be found on the internet. This civilization possesses great technical knowledge, but it's not spiritual enough. However, unlike the Greys, they cannot harm humans because the frequency of their inhabitants is close to the 4th dimension. But let us return to the dragon race. It was they who had the greatest impact on the lives of Earthlings, as they came to our planet with one purpose: to completely enslave the people. At first, they didn't succeed, as the divine gene of the Earthlings at that time was so strong that the dragons could not break through the vibratory barrier that separated humans from these low-frequency beings. Then they resorted to the genetic engineering they already had. First, they created the reptilian creatures, with a human appearance but carrying the genes of the Draconians. These beings were originally created for power, control, and greed. Like the Draconian themselves, these beings lacked empathy, since if they had had it, they wouldn't have been able to enslave humankind. Gradually, dragons began to populate the earth with these creatures, who quickly discovered the weakness of Earthlings, their openness, trust, and kindness, which they began to exploit to their advantage. Gradually, through flattery and deception, they began to infiltrate human society, and as a result, more and more hybrid families began to appear, producing pure human souls, pure-blooded reptiles or hybrids, owners of two souls, depending on the circumstances. This continues to this day. Economy. Bitcoin recovers above $96,000. Winds of change might blow through crypto during Trump's term. Trump will spark surge in consumer confidence. Stock market expectations hit record. Yen strengthens against dollar as bond yields fall. The ruble sinks to 2022 lows and triggers intervention by the Russian central bank. The shipping industry faces one of its biggest challenges: the shortage of sailors. Russia punishes the US with uranium, and Poland goes into a state of panic over Nord Stream. Antimony, a metal of a strategic importance for military production, rose more than 200% in 2024 after China restricted its export. Celebration across Lebanon as ceasefire holds. Thousands returned home south. USA. Thanksgiving trip hampered by coast-to-coast storm bringing rain and snow. Bitcoin bonds and bullion up. Big tech and dollar down on Tackey Day. White hats claim to have foiled a false flag operation on Thanksgiving Day, according to Michael Baxter. New York to close 12 migrant shelters in the face of Trump deportations. Federal court dismisses defamation lawsuit against Fox News over conspiracy theory. Martin Scorsese presents a series on history's most famous saints. Tucker Carlson thinks the White House is run by Satan as Armageddon approaches, according to Sorcha Fall. Russia closes its airspace and then warns the US of a Orosnik missile attack, according to Sorcha Fall. More white hats head to border, preparing for mass deportation program set to begin January 20th, according to Michael Baxter. US deploys nuclear submarine to counter China in Indo-Pacific. US to deploy missiles on Japanese islands if China attacks Taiwan. Trump effect. On January 21st, 2025, the day after the President Trump is inaugurated, 6 planets will align in the sky: Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus. Trump cabinet nominees targeted by threats. Trump names General Kellogg as a special envoy for Ukraine and Russia. Trump bypasses executive branch and Pentagon, brings NATO Secretary General to secret meeting in Florida. Trump mulls direct talks with North Korean leader. Donald Trump Jr. joins Drew Macki's vote, shares surge 90%. Trump announces 25% tariffs on Canada, China and Mexico. Trump's proposed tariffs on Mexico, Canada and China will increase inflation, Goldman Sachs warns. Canada mulling tariffs on US goods after Trump threat. Trump's tariffs on Canada would drive up gas prices, analysts warn. Trump's tariff threat signals start of a wild ride in currency markets. X22 report. You are witnessing the destruction of the old guard and accountability. Trump uses tariffs to make countries bend to his will. According to Bob Kudla, Trump is taking steps to create a parallel currency that will oppose the Fed note. Trump can pay off the debt and he can do three things that will change the economic landscape and give the US an advantage over many countries. According to Judy Bington, Trump is leveraging the QFS to reintroduce the gold-backed dollar, anchored by massive reserves obtained during covert military operations. The QFS will bring justice and prosperity. The era of manipulation is over. Elon Musk promises massive cuts in red tape. Musk reveals the names of public employees he wants to fire. Elon Musk praises the classic Russian literary Fyodor Dostoevsky. Literature, the classic Russian literature. Europe. Von der Leyen achieves a very narrow approval from the European Parliament for her new executive. Josep Borrell will not continue to lead foreign policy into the European Commission. A NATO flotilla surrounds a Chinese ship suspected of sabotaging submarine cables in the Baltic. Europe faces an energy crisis. The price of gas rose by 45%. European banks need agreements to keep pace with the runaway US sector. The oldest man in England dies aged 1012 years. Unidentified drones spotted over US bases in the UK. UK inflation exceeds Bank of England's 2% target, dampening expectations of rate cuts in December. The Vatican could classify spiritual abuse as a new ecclesiastic crime. The new term would allow more effective prosecution of ecclesiastics who take advantage of supernatural experiences to abuse their victims. Spain. Former magistrates and former prosecutors file a complaint against the emeritus king for tax crimes. Hydrogen business raised in Spain with 650 projects for 206 companies. Farmers denounce that Mohammed VI tomato in megalopolis is illegal and demand a break with Morocco. Elena Gutierrez, the only Spaniard woman at the controls of the Eurofighter, the most advanced fighter jet in Europe. Americas. Biden approves a disaster declaration in Puerto Rico after Ernesto passed in August. Sheinbaum talks with Trump about migration. They estimate how much the US GDP will fall if Trump deports Mexicans. Mexico registers a trade surplus of $371 million in October. Mexico threatens Trump with tariffs and China protests. Mexico warns that Trump's tariff policy would affect the US economy. The government of Mexico deploys a strategy against violence in Tabasco. Water is cut off to the 6 opposition refugees in the Argentine embassy in Caracas. Milei's government boasts of avoiding a crisis after its first year in office. Argentine Foreign Ministry fires ambassador to Spain and consul in New York. Brazil fears impacts to its industry due to possible protectionism by Trump. Lula agrees to cut public spending by $12 billion in a gesture of approval to investors. Coffee hits 1977 highs and nears historic prices. Vietnam and Brazil suffer the worst conditions for the harvest. Carrefour apologizes to the Brazilian government after the boycott of its meat industry. A Russian-Brazilian scientific expedition begins around Antarctica. A law is being processed to regulate the use of social networks by minors under 14 years of age in Colombia. Nicaragua industrializes the production of moringa. Haiti remains under siege by armed gangs. Recruitment of children by armed groups in Haiti increases by 70%. Peru increased its production of gold and other metals in the first 9 months of 2024. The Peruvian government extends its emergency in several districts of Lima due to insecurity. The Peruvian government declares another emergency due to the oil spills in the Pastaza River. Amazonian indigenous people block a river in Peru to demand solution for the oil spill. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.